How does co-op board approval work in New York City? We'll demystify this topic in today's video. I'm Nick at Hauseit. Visit Hauseit.com to learn how to save money if you are buying, selling, or renting here in New York City. We also operate in Long Island, the Hudson Valley, and South Florida. So let's get started. So, co-op board approval consists of filling out and submitting a detailed application and sitting for a board interview. The typical co-op application asks for a litany of financial documents, which includes bank statements, a financial statement, as well as tax returns, among other requirements. You'll also be asked to submit letters of reference in almost all cases, as well as various disclosure forms which you'll be asked to sign. You'll typically also submit a copy of your purchase contract and a copy of your commitment letter if you are financing. Most co-op boards take roughly 4 weeks to review and respond to an application. Now, keep in mind that this 4-week timeline does not include the period when the managing agent receives and reviews your application. Usually, management reserves about a week in order to review what you've submitted, make sure it's complete, not missing anything, and then they will submit it to the board. Upon submission to the board is when you can be guided by that roughly 4-week estimated timeline. If after 4 weeks, or whenever the board responds, they like what they see, it means you have been conditionally approved, and this will trigger a request for an interview. Now, keep in mind that a co-op has no obligation to actually invite you to an interview. So if they strongly dislike what is contained in the application, it is possible that the co-op board can reject you outright. But if you are called in for an interview, it's really good news because it essentially means that they're in principle on board with approving you. And as a result, the objective of the interview is really just to make sure that you are the same person as reflected and outlined in the application that you've submitted. And obviously they want to make sure that there's nothing severely wrong with your mentality, mindset, personality, and whatnot. And an interview is a very easy way for them to check this. Now, one thing we would like to circle back on is that rough timeline of 4 weeks in terms of when you'll hear back from the co-op board. Now, unlike a condo, there is no legal requirement for the co-op board to respond within, say, 4 weeks. It could potentially take several months. Admittedly, this is rare, but we do have one particular example where we were working with a building in Greenwich Village, downtown by NYU, and it just so happened that during the time of this particular deal, it was the summer, so a lot of board members were on vacation. And this was pre-COVID and sort of pre-Zoom taking over the world. And back then, the board literally had to have everyone present and physically meet to review applications. So the summer holidays really delayed the board's ability to review the purchase applications. And in addition, there were a ton of sales at that same time in the building, way more than is normal. And as a result, it literally took 3 months for that poor buyer to hear back from the co-op. Now, fortunately, everything went through, buyer was approved, deal closed, but we just want to emphasize as a result that, if you are trying to time your purchase with a lease expiration, you need to allow some buffer, you need to have a contingency plan, and not to assume that the co-op will absolutely respond within 4 weeks. Now, what happens after your co-op board interview? Well, most of the time, you'll probably receive a response within a day or two, whether it's approval or rejection. But officially, it can take up to 1 week for the managing agent to convey the official decision to typically your attorney, or in some cases, the buyer's agent. And feel free to refer to our detailed guide on co-op board approval, as well as our detailed step-by-step guide for preparing an application, both of which are available at Hauseit.com. We really appreciate your time today, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment below the video or send us an email to team@Hauseit.com. Please also visit Hauseit.com to learn about ways to save money when buying, selling, or renting here in New York City. I'm Nick at Hauseit, and we'll see you on the next video.